I look forward to seeing what they have to offer, because generally it is these unknown teams that tend to bring out the surprises up against the bigger known teams like GeekFam. And I'm pretty intrigued to see what they have up in store for us.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Signal surprises all the way back to those qualifiers when there were lands. Signal was right up there, right about to enter, and they can bring out that performance. It's just Signal against GeekFam. Historically, Mike, this is a very straightforward answer. They've not won at all up against GeekFam. I think that goes all the way back to 3 years.
3
So
years.
2020, 2019, 2018, not a single series win for Signal Ultra. One series draw. That's it.
So you're telling me you let me tell all the viewers that these guys could upset GeekFam, but they haven't beat GeekFam in 3 years.
Hey, they could. It would still be an upset. It's not statistically unlikely. That's an upset.
That would
You're
be
not
the
wrong
definition
if they
of
won.
It's a definition
exactly.
of an upset, John. It's been 3 years.
But
right.
yeah, they've got their work cut out for them. And you do look at those bans. They've taken out the Void Spirit, which is great because we've seen GeekFam give Zephyr some of these Spirit Brothers on the support role. GeekFam do go straight to the Shaker. So they've got that solid pause 4 now coming out for, I believe it's still going to be Zephyr playing that. Unless they give it to Cuckoo for some reason, but it is a bit flex there. And we've seen the Shaker do a lot of work. We'll see if in this series if they're going to need a blink. Because we've gone through like 2 games where the Shaker just gets stuff done without even blinking in.
Right. Signal Ultra. They do go into one of the Spirit Brothers. The Ember Spirit was available, and the Keeper of the Light. Both of which were still options there for Signal Ultra. They, of course, take that very, very potent combination. GeekFam, of course, should have been well aware that that was going to be available, and they respond with a Necrophos now.
Yeah, I don't mind the Necrophos too much. I think it's got a lot of potency in controlling and bursting that Ember Spirit down. We have seen some games where the Necrophos just gets uncontrollable, right? You don't have enough damage to deal with it. We'll see if that's going to be an issue. For Signal Ultra, I think the Ember is a pretty decent response in terms of damage onto the Necro. So there's a lot more for GeekFam to build up to. I do believe this is probably going to be the Cuckoo offlane hero if they're going to run it that way. So that is, if that's it, then it's a pretty early reveal. Sustains itself in lane nice enough. The one thing with Signal Ultra opting for the Ember Spirit, first, of course, there is flexibility. It's not a guaranteed mid, although when you have the Keeper, it tends to be in that core role, but you can still flex it to a 4 if you were feeling like you need a better matchup there, and we'll see if Signal does feel that way as the draft goes on.
Apart from that draft, John, there's another question I had to ask you. I saw you were having a lobby chat, as you always you always tend to do. Now, if I don't know how to speak Tagalog. I believe you were speaking, but
yeah,
I believe you were talking about noodles, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
What happened? What was the conclusion of the conversation, sir?
There was no real conclusion there. So it started with me saying that last series of the day, said our admin, Zek said that, and I was like, yeah, okay, after this, all of us hit up a Mang Inasal. It's like a Mang Inasal. Yeah, people are going to get mad at my pronunciation. Mang Inasal.
Pronounce it properly, John.
Yeah, got to pronounce it properly. And, hit up a barbecue place. For some reason, Carl brought up noodles, and he said, I think Grimto, prefers pancit over Indomie, and he's Indonesian, so he prefers Indomie himself. I think Carl, Cuckoo mentioned preferring Indomie, but it's a toss-up, it seems. Opinions divided in the end on noodles.
Thank you for that, John. Glad to see you're asking the players some real... What is it with you and making everyone hungry before the night ends? You always ask these questions to these poor players, and we end up having a food conversation in the middle of the cast. Draft goes on. The task has been picked up now by Signal Ultra. GeekFam, they go into the Oracle now. I gotta say, Oracle plus Necrophos.
Ooh, that's sickening.
It's disgusting.
It's sickening. It's not right, because you negate the weakness of Necrophos when he's healing up.
Right.
Ghost Shroud, and then suddenly you have the Fortune's End, so he's not going to be copying any damage anyway from magic. And then you have False Promise to let this guy heal back to full. But the counter to Necrophos was still there. Pugna is there. I think that's a really good way of punishing the Necrophos. You still have to worry about the Oracle. That's still going to be a factor,
Right.
but we saw the Pugna do a lot of work last time as well in the last series. So there is some potency here. There's a timing issue. I think you have to, in any case, take care of the Oracle first, no matter what. And if you can get that done, Pugna can clean up the rest, can punish the Necro, and can push pretty nicely. So you've got a good pace here from Signal.
Oh, Geek Fam, though, they go into that Weaver. And as it stands right now, there's not much control in the way of Signal Ultra's draft for that Weaver. Looks like it should be a Core Weaver as well, unless they plan to do something weird like an offlane Earthshaker. But that's kind of doubtful. It looks like it probably will be a safe lane Weaver coming out for Geek Fam. And well, this hero's slowly been making its way back into the meta for some reason, and it is very slippery. It's very hard to catch. It can fight early. It's annoying overall, and Signal Ultra, they may feel like they don't need to work towards a counter. Like, you do have the chains there from the Ember, I guess, to make it to catch him out, but it seems like a decent pick for Geek Fam, is all I'm saying. Yeah.
It's got a lot of room to go around here. I think you can tear through the backline. Keeper of the Light and Pugna aren't particularly tanky, so the Weaver can take care of that for you. The one thing is Tusk can be annoying. Shards in the right moment can really disrupt that Weaver from running away. So there's some options for control there from Signal that they can get done. I would like to see something to build off for the Weaver. I don't think they have any room for the minus armor strats we've been seeing. So no room for the Venge, no room for a Slardar. But there are other ways to amp up the Weaver, at least give the Weaver a bit more space in that sense, and we'll see what Geek Fam does pick in the end. It looks like we are lacking mids here.
And Geek Fam, we do see the Void Spirit the Faceless Void being banned up by Signal Ultra. Geek Fam, one more ban for themselves before we get to see how they finish off these drafts.
5 seconds remaining.
They still have so much reserve time for this, after this, that 2 minutes, right? You've got so much time to make this final ban out and the final pick for Geek Fam. They do go ahead and ban out the PA, surprisingly enough. I didn't think that was really going to be the case here. When you have a Pugna in your team, the PA can be a little bit, it can be a bit rough.
Yeah.
And going into a Necrophos as well, like, he's got that natural Ghost Shroud. So I wasn't expecting the PK from Signal Ultra anyway, but it could have worked. You never know.
10 seconds remaining.
I think it's one of those comfort picks for
5 seconds
Abbott. I think that's something he plays a lot of. Again, there has been a bit of tendency, right? We see the same thing with Adroit, where they do tend to pick up a PA every now and again. So I think it's just down to the fact that Geek Fam knows, Signal knows how to play around it, and they close out their draft with a Batrider.
Right.
So their draft right now from Geek Fam comes online really fast. There's not much farm needed here. Maybe a Blink and the Shaker, maybe initial items on your Weaver, but beyond that, you're going to be ready to fight very early on. You could say the same about Signal. No matter what they pick last, these 4 heroes will be able to pump up that aggression as well. So expect a bit of a fast game coming out from both sides.
I do expect one to happen here. The fast kind of game. Signal Ultra, they need to make a fast pick with this final pick, and they'll go into the Queen of Pain. So that does indicate a safe lane Ember Spirit for Signal Ultra, and they'll throw the mid Quap. I can't really blame them for that, because there is the opportunity now to have a mid Batrider if you so wish, and well, we saw what happened in a previous series when you have mid Batrider up against a melee core. It just tends to not work out very well. See where Geek Fam plan to throw that Batrider. Whether they want it in the off lane, whether they want to run it mid. We know that Raven will be in the safe lane, and Cuckoo will take the off lane Necrophos. So they are going to run that mid Batrider regardless of whether it's a Quap or whether it's going to be the Ember. Of course, it's probably going to be the Quap. You're not going to run Ember versus Batrider. That's just disgusting. No.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid draft from Signal, I have to say. The control from Geek Fam to catch them out is really basically on the Shaker. I guess Oracle Root is nice, and Necrophos Sight is there, and the Lasso. But beyond that, in terms of AoE team fight consistent control, you've got the Keeper of the Light there, you've got the Tusk to split that fight up, and you've got a lot of AoE damage coming out. So if they do force early big engagements, it could end up favoring Signal, but Geek Fam has a lot of tools to find those pickoffs. So they'd probably want to go hunting a bit and try to catch out some of these heroes before anything can happen. Have to say though, the mid lane matchup, Queen of Pain against Bat Act. Well, yeah, the Queen of Pain against a Bat is all right for the Bat. It's not the best lane. You're not going to be as dominant as you see it if it is going to be in that case. And I think there's a lot of leeway there for Signal to get that lane up and running pretty well.
Yeah. It's one of those things, right? Like with the Batrider, you definitely want to dominate the lane as best as you possibly can, but it's not like you can't just see Carl rotating through the jungle, clearing out a bunch of camps, just escalating out of control in that Batrider, and ultimately being a real nuisance throughout the mid game. Could just see that happen as well. Is Geek Fam. We'll lose the Oracle there. That'll be it. Zephyr's gone as well somewhere. I'm not sure where he's gone to. And we'll start this first game between Signal Ultra and Geek Fam. And this will be the first showing of Signal Ultra in a while for us. So I look forward to seeing where they're headed with this kind of team. Like how good they're looking right now.
Yeah, it's been a while, and should be interesting to see. I love that Jamesy does start out straight up with a magic wand, so he's ready to face up against Carl. Of course, Carl will want to spam as much sticky napalm as possible, so you've already got a bit more burst sustain there coming out from Signal.
Kind of shocked that you go all the way for the wand. Like, would you not just start off with the stick and build? Like, I guess the stats are quite nice for the Queen of Pain, but
30 seconds to
well, maybe just
Stats
felt
are
like,
nice.
yeah, I guess you just felt like you didn't need anything else.
Yeah, the max charges are pretty good as well, so you can build up to 20 straight up. And against a Batrider, fairly easy to hit that point, so can't really blame the Queen of Pain. Can't blame Jamesy for just wanting that really nice early heal coming up here for the lane.
Well, top lane could be a bit of a scuffle here over this bounty rune. Fortune's End going to be thrown out onto Raven, just in case they want to try and pursue that bounty. It'll be a 3-for-1 trade, it seems. Geek Fam, they will secure the third down at that bot lane where Cuckoo will pick it up. So a nice little gold boost going into this first game for the side of Geek Fam. We'll see Eris actually making the rotation down to the bot lane as the Tusk, which is a little bit intriguing, right? Because as a Tusk, usually you'll see most teams, they'll try to run a bit of a tri-lane to start and find an early first blood with tag team. But they won't do that with Signal Ultra. They'll just bring him straight down to the bot lane to make sure he's supporting Van on that Pugna.
Yeah, I think they understand that Pugna left alone doesn't really hold its own quite well. So they're going to need Eris around to give it some space. Level
Jamesy.
1 to trees when it's vulnerable.
Luckily for Jamesy, John, he kept a skill point for himself. Actually forced TP out. Carl running straight back towards him. He still wants to go for this. He has Firefly time here. He will not have enough, but he can just keep auto-attacking. Carl needs one more, but a Fairy Fire comes out from Jamesy. But he does force out the level 1 Blink, and now, of course, the Shadow Strike will also be there. But Carl, what kind of aggression is this?
Oh yeah, that's not something you see all too often. And Jamesy isn't quite fully punished. Like he's actually going to be fine in this lane. Has 12 charges in the wand. And just waiting for Carl to actually just completely drain the mana to get more value from that burst heal.
Well, that is the beauty of this, right? Like, Jamesy did have the wand the whole time. So he wouldn't have actually died. In fact, if he kept just kiting the bat around, he probably would have gotten the kill. Still, just surviving that first onslaught of the Batrider is going to feel pretty good for Jamesy. It's like we do have a bit of an interesting situation down at the bot lane. Van, he has his creep wave behind his tier 1 tower. Eris is... I'm not sure if he's pulled the Dire Creep Wave back behind there, but somehow ended up in that position. Well, Geek Fam in a bit of a interesting situation where they can't really farm much without a Creep Wave in front of them. So Van gonna find some pretty nice XP and farm himself in this Pugna. He's gonna sit on the top of the CS board for now as well in that Pugna, 15 and 5.
Yeah, you're not seeing as much presence from Geek Fam in that bot lane as you'd expect. I don't think there's all too much they can really do, and this is playing into Signal's early game, so they're going to be online fairly quickly, which can help them. Their lineup does want to be up and running fairly quick.
Kind of makes you wonder, though, what they are going to do about this Pugna. It's not like the Necrophos can really shut him down. Maybe as the levels go up, it becomes a little bit harder for Van, but ultimately I still believe he has the advantage throughout the whole laning stage. In fact, now Eris just being a real nuisance here up against Zephyr.
It's just a bit tricky. I think right now Geek Fam is probably more focused on just trying to give Raven a good time. And if you look at up top, the last hits of Raven aren't that close to Van at all. It's just such a free lane bot. They need to get some of that farm onto Raven as well, and it's not quite happening.
It is a bit of a struggle for the Weaver for now. Bat's having a decent time as well in that off-lane Ember. 13 and 3. Not really struggling too much and not really taking too much harassment either. Of course, he does have the Keeper of the Light with him, Grims, just rotating right now to try and help secure a Power Rune for his Queen of Pain, but Whiteman's being very, very annoying here on that Oracle, and, well, eventually the deny comes out, and now Eris with a great shards out, but a Fissure in the mid lane. It won't matter. Eris does get the first blood, and now Whiteman, he'll get jumped as well. Signal Ultra. What an aggressive play in that mid lane, and well, that's 2 kills going to the way of this Radiant side.
It's that fast game we were looking for, and you take a look up top, Abba got brought down low as well, not quite enough, but you are starting to see each side really commit towards finding these early kills, and I think that's much more pertinent for Signal. Their lineup most definitely does have a lot more of an early power spike. They are making use of that quite well.
That they are. And I gotta say, I really do enjoy all these rotations coming in early. Jamesy is still having a pretty tough time up against Carl's Batrider. It's even though he has the blink up, he can't even get close to the creep wave because he's just copying too many sticky napalm stacks. And now he'll get close, but the more you stand there, the more you're gonna cop. Even the flame break now from Carl really gets some advantage out of the sticky napalm, as he can't really close the gap with the Firefly quite yet. But at least you have the flame break there to get some damage out.
Yeah, but it is still a really slow lane for Jamesy. It's like it's something Carl has maximized well, as you mentioned. Oh.
Yeah, Cuckoo, he kind of waited to the last second with that Ghost Shroud. Not really respecting the damage of that Nether Blast, and the Ghost Shroud does amplify that damage, just like Decrepify would.
Yeah, it's again, it's the easy counter to Necrophos. It's the Pugna. So it's not going to be a good time for that Necro down here. I think you kind of have to accept that. But Cuckoo is just not going to have a great game. That's it.
It's as simple as that. And we are going to have a pause coming out here. Looks like Whiteman is the one to disconnect. I love the confidence here from Signal Ultra, though, I've got to say. They're currently 3-0. They're constantly all chatting. You know, really giving it to the side of Geek Fam. And I mean, again, this is a team you don't get to see very often. So it's just kind of interesting to see Signal Ultra just come out of nowhere and, well, at least for now, take the lead in this game.
Yeah, their aggression is paying off quite well. They have managed to force Geek Fam to rotate a bit earlier and not really win out in their lanes. Like, the farm on Raven is most certainly not up to par compared to the Pugna. It's not too far behind, but we're talking about 500 gold at 6 minutes in. That's a pretty good amount. And there has to be some space given to Raven. They have to be careful about him getting jumped. I think as soon as you hit level 5 or 6 on Abat, he can come in and really just apply to hurt. He's been going for the Searing Chain Sleight of Fist build, which, as we know with Chakra, just makes it so hard to fight against that. Especially once you hit level 3 Sleight of Fist with a cooldown reduction. It's just kind of wild how much damage comes out from an Ember.
I see nothing wrong with it, John. I think it's completely balanced with this combination. Don't know what you're talking about. It is really disgusting though. Like, it's, you know, just being able to spam Sleight of Fist twice in a row like that. Especially if the Ember becomes out of control. Like, if a bat does find some amazing farm on this Ember, whew, it gets tough.
Yeah, it really does. And I think Geek Fam, they've got to give Raven space. We've seen them in this situation before, where they give Raven a hero that doesn't quite come in line too fast. It needs some initial farm. They need to pick up the pace with Carl down mid, so they're going to need to play around a bat, and he is rushing the BOTs into Blink. So once at least the BOTs are up, he's going to be able to have a little bit more presence on that map.
Fisher out from Zephyr onto Jamesy, but you can still blink away. His turn rate is not that slow on that Quap. Like, it's still obviously a lot slower with the sticky napalm, but he has time unless you can get the lasso off.
Yeah, I think they needed maybe 1 or 2 more stacks of napalm just to really slow that turn. And Zephyr might have been a bit too early in that fissure, so if they just let Carl spam out one more time, might have not had enough time to blink and turn before the lasso was up.
Oh, Arbat. Getting very aggressive there onto Whiteman. Raven. Going onto the Ember. That could be dangerous, but he doesn't really realize that the chase was on and misses the chains. And he got on those chains off earlier on. I suppose Raven can always time-lapse, but you wouldn't mind just forcing that ultimate out.
Yeah, it's a fairly annoyingly long cooldown at level 1, so it does leave Raven vulnerable when he does expend it, but you hit 6 in Abed, so you've got the nuke damage anyway from the Ember, and if they wanted to commit along with that Keeper to help you spam out, it's going to be pretty straightforward to kill off this pesky Weaver.
You look at this as well, bot lane. This is where that point where the Pugner gets really annoying now. He'll just push in that bot tier 1 tower consistently with that Nether Blast. And they are going to try and apply some pressure up top lane as Raven, he does really harass out a bat quite nicely on the Ember. The only problem being is he can get a free reset by TPing and remnanting back. It's exactly what he does.
Yeah,
And,
it's Ember Spiritings.
Yeah.
It maintains that lane. You see Raven having to TP out as well because he dropped a bit low. Does use the time lapse just to come back in, so he wants to play a little bit of like an Ember Spirit as well.
Jamesy, again, getting fished up. This time they do connect with the lasso. Zephyr was very, very patient in that mid lane. He waited a very long time to have that opportunity, and it does finally pay off.
And that's what they need to do. They can't really rush it. Queen of Pain is a bit too slippery, and you just have to rely on getting that slow turn to punish the blink, and Raven does find a nice support pick off as well. So he's starting to find some damage.
It's really easy for the Weaver. Just be able to sneak behind a support like a Keeper of the Light and just take him out. And even if he does use the Blinding Light, you can just time-lapse and essentially just purge it off. As now Carl rotates down to the bot lane of the Batrider, but they're not quite able to close the gap onto Van. And Van seemingly getting a bit lucky as well, finding a faded brooch, and that added movement speed already paying off.
Yeah, I mean, he moves at 400. That's just... I don't think they have anything from Geek Camp to hold him down unless Carl gets the BOTs up and kind of has Firefly up running. That's probably the best bet.
Coming in, trying to go after Cuckoo and Zephyr. There's going to be a TP away, though. Zephyr does have that cancel. Now a nice chance into a great Sonic Wave, but the Sonic Wave pushed him past the chance. It won't matter anyway. A bat. He comes in and cleans it up. Gets a double kill on the Ember. Did they get their outpost back in time? No. They lost their outpost. Nobody went back to get it. So on the brighter side, Geek Fam do deny that XP away, but you did just give 2 decent kills over to the Ember anyway. So I guess you'd call that an even trade, if not better for Signal.
Oh, it is definitely a lot better for Signal. They're just finding these early kills. Their aggression is paying off, and I bet it's at the point where he can just show up in lanes, find kills, shove it out. They've already taken that bot tier 1 as well because obviously they've got the Pugna. So you can start shifting